I've looked forward to tonight for a long time. And I look forward to every occasion in which young people are dominant. You know, our team knows that any event I agree to, certainly anything that involves the political side of life, on the punch list of things we ask for, in addition to a short introduction, fewer than 30 speakers on the program, you know, these sort of things. On that checklist is there got to be at least a couple tables of young people. I don't care where they find them, local high school, grade school, college, shelter, I don't care. Because if there is a thread that runs through our entire adventure here, now in its entering its 8th year, it was July the 6th, '03, when, as a virtually unknown private citizen, parking lot of Hinkle Fieldhouse, an RV that didn't have the first signature on it yet. We hadn't torched the shag rug. We hadn't spilled the first pot of coffee, stomped the first pizza into it. We said this campaign was about a better future for the young people of this state. I'd have been back in business at that point if I hadn't simply gotten finally too frustrated and too restless meeting young people on their way out of state, reading about brain drains and all that business, and seeing what I thought was a complacency in Indiana that said, fine, good enough is good enough. And the phrase aiming higher, like almost everything else that has been part of our vocabulary, was just initially a spontaneous mention, but it had the right feel. And from that day to this, when somebody asks me, why are you doing this, or what motivates this or that initiative, I find myself coming back to those two thoughts. It's about building the kind of state where young people know that they can, if they're up to it, they can achieve the dream of upward mobility that's always been in America. And the kind of state that does not settle for mediocrity and doesn't settle for middle of the pack and aspires to be a leadership state. I think those two things go together. So the idea of young professionals and our aiming higher agenda it really is the core of everything we've done. I guess, if anything, if it were possible for young people to be more on my mind than you are these days, it's happened. In large part because of national events and trends. We're here organized and entirely fixed on building a better Indiana. But it hadn't escaped anybody's notice in this room that y'all are about to get the shaft in a big way. And we're just going to do all we can in our 2.2% of America to say that we're going to live within our means. We're going to leave as many of people's hard-earned dollars in their pockets so that they can use them as they see fit and therefore be as maximally free as we can arrange for them to be. And we're going to try to make certain that, to the extent we can, that in this corner of America, people who start with nothing can still go to the top. And so, it's rude to take exception to things your hosts have said, but Mara and Todd, the mission of Aiming Higher is not to win the Indiana House of Representatives. That is a tactical means to an end. We've always said elections are never the goal. Winning elections is fun, and it's an indispensable step toward the real goal. But the real goal has always got to be to get something major done, to leave something better behind. And that's our objective, and that's why I appreciate your being here. That's why I hope that this can become one of those miracles of modern, as they say, social networking, in which we multiply the numbers that are already there. We have 30,000 people associated with us now. And and after tonight, I guess another 50 or 100, or I'm not sure what the overlap was. But if you're also net savvy, as I keep reading about, And if this thing is not all overhyped, as I'm constantly telling Holcomb I think it is, then prove it to me. Make sure you're signed up, and then use all these gizmos and lists you're on and pages that you have and fans and friends that you have. And I want to see that number go up by 2 or 3 or 4x over the next few weeks. And then I want to see it translate into real action, which can be getting people to come help a candidate at a critical time, or pick up the phone and call a radio talk show, if you happen to know one that anybody listens to. Or write a letter to correct some slanderous or maybe just mistaken notion that was in the local paper, and all the things an active citizen can do and will do if somebody, particularly a friend of theirs, prods them just a little bit. It is a means to an end, but let me just tell you, if we can break through, I have the same feeling that I did in 2004. I just knew, I used to say, if the forces of change, the forces of higher aspirations could just get over the top, we could do a ton of things to make this a better state, a greater state, a fairer and a state of much more opportunity. And I have that feeling all over again. We've gotten a lot of, I'd say a fair amount of things done these last few years. Indiana does stand apart now. I used to say, one day you won't have to ask what makes Indiana different. Nobody has to ask that now. The 40-some states of this country are broke and we're in the black. 40-some states of this country have raised taxes in the last 2 years and we cut them. 40-some states of this country are either stagnant or downgraded in their credit ratings, and we were promoted to AAA for the first time in our state's history. Most of the states of this country are flat, are stuck on the bottom of this recession and going nowhere. We are the number 2 state in America in adding private sector jobs this year, and all these things are connected. And those of you, and there are plenty of you who are not here, who have been with us a good long while, you should feel some real pride of ownership for that. It was not an accident. And I have that feeling again. I mean, we are this close, I really believe, to a breakthrough that will at least give us a fair shot to offer the ideas we haven't been able to get done yet. First and foremost, to keep Indiana in the black. Speaker Bowers, a perfectly good fella. I can enjoy it, chuckle with him once in a while, but I always say he is a very expensive date. He and his caucus voted for $2 billion more than the state was ever going to take in this biennium. And if they had had their way, we would be flat broke and taxes would be going up right now. That danger is going to remain. This recession, I'm sorry to say, is not going to end anytime soon that I can see. I'd be delighted if it did, but until we know that, we're going to have to be absolutely as careful with the taxpayers' dollar as we have been for these last few years. And a majority in the House will give us a much better chance at doing that and keeping taxes down. And then, on the more positive and affirmative side, the chance to transform education in this state is right there in front of us, and it is so overdue. You know, you're luckier than most of my victims. Most of my audiences these days have to sit and look at a series of maps where I show them how Indiana is now almost alone outside the Sun Belt, seen as not just a solvent state, but a great state to do business. But I have to tell those same audiences, after I list all our strengths, we got lower taxes, lower workers' comp, we got a better regulatory system, we got a better highway system getting much better. As we build it, we've got a reasonable legal climate, on and on and on. I have to tell them, there's a cloud over all that. If Indiana is going to stall out in trying to become the state of opportunity and jobs and growth, it's going to be because we don't have a superior education system. Some people say, yeah, right, our kids have got to learn more so they'll be ready for work in a few years, and that's true. But you know what? It's a right now problem. Because when we're trying to bring companies here, they want to know how, after they go through that other stuff, hey, you look great. You're a low-cost state. You're a business-friendly state. You got great roads and everything we need. How are the schools? We've got a terrific chance to make changes that most of America has struggled to make. Any of, we can make a whole lot of them. It depends entirely. We cannot get to first base, let alone home plate, on those reforms unless we do have a success in the House of Representatives. Likewise, making permanent some of the reforms we've made in government. You know, I don't know about you, but I like that people go to the BMV and they're in and out in less than 9 minutes, and I don't want to go back to 3 hours the way it used to be. So the stakes are really high. We in this room cannot bring sanity to the federal fiscal picture. We cannot begin to bend down the line that, as of now, stands to dump a scandalous amount of debt on you and the kids you'll have. We'll work on that together some other day. But we have a great chance to further extend Indiana's new reputation as a happening place, as a place of innovation, a place that tackles its problems, as a place where people get together across party lines and across and setting aside other differences to do the important stuff. And that's why I'm so excited you're here. I mean, what do we got? Less than 90 days, I guess, to go, and we could be at the dawn of another era of reform and improvement and differentiation for this state that we love. So thanks for coming. Thanks for being the kind of citizens you are. Show me what you got these next 90 days, and let's have a party with, next time this group meets, let's have 5 times as many people there. Thanks, and I'll take some questions.